Now, I want you to see something very important. Oftentimes in our lives, God gives us a promise, and then we have to wait for the unfolding of the promise. That promise is based upon God's faithfulness in His own timing. And we have to wait for that promise. And the Bible gives us over and over again times when God has His people waiting for a promise. There was a British author, his name was James Stocker, and this is what he said. I shared it one Wednesday night, and it's worth reviewing. He said, when God has an exceptional work for you to do, it is usually preceded by some exceptional waiting. He said God's normal method of using people, training His children, is always preceded by extended times of waiting where we are growing and getting lessons in our faith. Extended work to do, extended waiting. Think about that carefully. Look at the lives of every great person in the Bible. Yeah, it's easy to remember Moses. Moses was the great leader. And he took 2 million people out of the land of Egypt, and he wonderfully did those wonderful miracles and took them through the desert. And we saw the parting of the Red Sea. Remember that? We saw the video. Remember that? The chariots under the sea. God did that through Moses. But before God did that through Moses, do you remember? We forget how many years he was in the backside of the desert. And there were no headlines. No newspapers talked about Moses. Moses was forgotten. He was in the backside near the Sinai, leading a group of sheep, and he was just their fish, sheep, same thing. Just there by the shepherd, and there was nobody came, and then suddenly God came, and there was Moses. Now was ready. We sometimes forget David. We think of David, the great hero of Israel, the greatest king Israel ever had. 40 years he ruled. And he was the #1 king. In fact, if you go to Israel today, their biggest hotel is called King David's, one of the best hotels in Jerusalem. And they revere David. But we forget that David actually spent 13 years of his life in the backside of a cave, hiding from Saul, being hunted by Saul, until one day. And all the time David would say, wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. Rest patiently in Him. Wait for the Lord. He will do something for you. We forget that. We forget that Elijah was the mighty man that came out and confronted the prophets of Baal in 1 Kings 18, 800 prophets of Baal and Ashtaroth. But we forget that Elijah was actually for a long time at the brook Cherith, and the brook ran dry. And he had to wait upon the Lord. We forget Esther suddenly came out of the shadows and spoke to her king husband and said, I think we're going to have to stop the Jews from genocide. But we forget that Esther, for a long time, half of her life, we had no idea about Esther. And sometimes, just like them, you and I are the same way. We wonder, we wait, and say, God, do you really have a big plan for me? And the Bible says over and over again. Let me read to you some wonderful verses that will help us. And I thought Savithri did the introduction to my message today. Listen to these verses as we read them out. And listen. Psalm 27 verse 14. Write these verses down. Psalm 27 verse 14. Don't write the whole verse. Just write the verse and go home and read it. David, this is what David said. He said, wait for the Lord. He's in the cave of Adullam. And he says, wait for the Lord. Be strong and let your heart be strengthened. Yes, wait for the Lord. In Psalm 37 verse 7, David says again, rest in the Lord and wait patiently for Him. We're waiting for God to act. Have you ever seen that? You say, God, I'm ready. I'm waiting for you now to act. Has that ever happened to you? Happens to me all the time. Psalm 37 verse 34. Here's the one Savitri was talking about. Wait for the Lord and keep His way, and He will exalt you. As you're waiting for the Lord, don't go here and there. Don't backslide. Don't say, I don't think this Christianity works. I'm going back to Egypt. I'm going back to the leeks and onions. Wait for the Lord, and He will keep His way. Don't turn left and right. Keep His way, and He will exalt you. Either God will do it, or the Bible is not true. Wait for the Lord. Wait. Rest. Be patient. Wait for the Lord. Keep His way, and He will exalt you. Wait upon Him. Now, I want to tell you what waiting really is. Waiting doesn't mean you twiddle your thumb and don't do anything. Many people think, wait for the Lord. Yeah, I'm waiting for the Lord. Waiting means, this is what the word means. Listen carefully. Waiting does not mean inactivity. Waiting means after you've done what the Lord wants you to do, you are waiting expectantly with hope and faith to see what He's going to do. Are you following what I'm saying tonight? If a farmer went out one day and he says, listen, I'm just going to wait upon the Lord, and he didn't sow any seeds. Yeah, I'm just going to wait upon the Lord. They're all Christians. I'm waiting upon the Lord, brother. I'm waiting upon the Lord, sister. And they don't do anything with their lives. They don't follow God. They don't keep His way. They're just waiting. They're praying. I prayed sometime yesterday. I prayed. But listen carefully. If the farmer goes out and he says, I'm not going to sow in the spring. I'm just going to wait upon the Lord. Then when the harvest comes, do you think there's going to be a harvest? No, sir. No harvest. Because he reaps what he sowed. Do you understand that? But the word waiting upon the Lord actually means that you do what God tells you to do while you're waiting. And you have an amazing expectancy from Him. Psalm 62 verse 5 says, my soul, David says, waits for the Lord, for my hope, my expectation is from Him. I was studying a little bit of the Hebrew on these verses here from one of the lexicons. This is what it said. Listen carefully. In Psalm 27 verse 14, when David says, wait for the Lord. Wait for the Lord. Be strong. Be strengthened. Let your heart be strengthened. And wait for the Lord. The Hebrew word wait is the word gava in the Hebrew. And this is what it means. It's a plural imperative. Imperative means it's a command. God says, I want you to wait. And the plural is an intensity of repetition. This means that you don't just wait once. You are constantly, as God gives you a promise, you're constantly expecting. There's a constant repetition, a plural of intensity of expectation. As you come closer and closer, you say, God, I've done what you told me to do. Now I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, I'm waiting. And the next verse says, and your heart will be strengthened. Haya chazak, and this is what it means. Your heart is strengthened with convictions. Your heart is strengthened with the Word. Your heart gets strong and courageous in the Word. Wait for the Lord. Wait for the Lord. That's what David said. And He will exalt you.